Hey, 8th grade. So our learning target today is I can solve equations with variables on both sides. So we'll have a variable on both sides of the equal sign. So you should be on page 16. Couple steps that you're used to. Step 1, stop, chop, chop. It's already filled in for you because you're used to doing that. If you have subtraction, we stop, chop, chop. Simplify if needed. We've been working on that. Use the distributive property if you have a parenthesis with a variable on the inside somewhere on the inside, and then combine like terms if necessary. Step 3 is going to be to add or subtract the smallest variable from both sides. That will be kind of our new piece for today's work. What do I do if there's a variable on both sides? We have to take care of that before we can get to step 4, which you're used to, which is using inverse operations or the hand method. Step 5 is to check. So go ahead and get that step 3 written in. That's the new piece for today. You will either add or subtract, and I'll teach you how you know if you're adding or subtracting. The smallest variable from both sides, copy paste will happen. Hand method kicks in, you check. So steps 1 and 2 are the same, steps 4 and 5 are the same, but we have to do step 3 now in the middle of this because there will be a variable on both sides of the equation. So for our first example here, what we have is 2x plus 9 equals 5x plus 4. We don't have any parentheses, we don't have any stop, chop, chops, but what we do have is a variable on both sides of the equation. So when I look at the variable parts, I have 2x and I have 5x. I'm looking for the smallest variable. The smallest variable right now is 2x. So I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to subtract 2x. Copy, paste. Smallest variable goes. 2 is the smallest. Since it's married to the variable x, 5 is bigger. We move the smallest one by doing opposite. It's positive 2, so we do subtract 2. That's 0. If I haven't used it, drag it down. And on the right-hand side, we have 3x plus 4. Hand method kicks in. Take my hand cover variable, anything attached. Subtract 4, copy, paste. Working left to right, then we have 5 equals, if I haven't used it, drag it down. So we have 5 equals 3x. Solving for this problem here, the operation is multiplication. Divide by 3, copy, paste, and we get y, or x equals 1 point if I round, 6, and I'm going to round to the 7th, 1.67. Now, because I rounded, it becomes approximately equal to. The other answer you could have had if you did not go to decimal form is 1 2/3. If you have 1 2/3, that's good as well. It's either this or that as your answer. Using substitution, then, you would want to plug them back in for the x where the x variable is. So you would want to take this answer here and plug it back in for the x's just to make sure that it's correct, that the left side equals the right side. Now, when you do that, you're not going to get a perfect answer because we rounded right here. So just know that when we go to do our check, it's not going to be perfect on the left to the right. So go ahead and pick up that calculator, plug in 2 multiplied by 1.67 plus 9. See what you get. And then we're going to do the right-hand side, 5 multiplied by 1.67 plus 4, and those answers should be pretty close. Not perfect, but pretty close. Good enough because of rounding. All right, moving on to our next problem. What do we do when we have a variable on both sides? So first thing we're going to do is if there's any subtraction, we said no, we stop, chop, chop. Then we combine like terms if possible. We kill any parentheses using the distributive property if necessary, but we don't have any parentheses there. So smallest variable leaves. Right now our smallest variable, we have negative 4y and we have positive 2y. The smallest variable on that is negative 4y, so that's the one that's going to go. We're going to add 4y. Copy, paste. Working left to right, I have 15 equals, on the right-hand side, we have 6y plus negative 6. 6y plus negative 6. Hand method kicks in at this step. So the opposite of negative 6 is add 6. Copy, paste. Working left to right then, we have 21 equals. If I haven't used it, drag it down. So we have 21 equals 6y. So multiplication problems, we're going to divide by 6. Copy, paste. So we have y is approximately equal to 3.5, and it's actually exactly equal to. It's not even approximate because I didn't have to round that. So it comes out to 3.5. So this one would be a much easier one to check. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my answer of 3.5. I'm going to plug it in here for y, and I'm going to plug it in there for y. So go ahead and pick up that calculator. On the left-hand side, you have 15 plus negative 4 multiplied by 3.5. All right, there's our answer. Get your answer there. And on the right-hand side, we're going to go 2 multiplied by 3.5 plus -6. And check out those answers. They have to be very close. They might not be perfect because sometimes with decimals they aren't, although this one we did not round, so it should be perfect. Just making sure that those two sides are equal. So this is what we do when there's a variable on both sides of the equation. Now, if I'm going too fast, go ahead and pause the video. Otherwise, we're going to keep plugging away. First thing I notice here is that we have a stop, chop, chop. We have a subtraction. We say no. We have a lonely variable there. I'm going to combine some like terms and put the b's together. So I have a half of b and 3/2 b. So I put all the b's together. 1/2 b plus 3/2 b gives me 2 b's. 2 full b's. You can use your calculator to help you out with that if you're struggling. If I haven't used it, drag it down. On the right hand side, I have 1b. I have 1b plus -2. Now, smallest variable part moves. My variables are 2b and 1b. The smallest variable is 1b. So I get rid of it by subtracting 1b, copy, paste, do the opposite sign. As I work left to right, I have 1b if I haven't used it, drag it down, equals if I haven't used it, drag it down. Hand method kicks in, we're solving for 1b. I'm going to subtract 35, copy, paste. Working left to right, then I have 1b equals -37. I could divide by 1 on this step, but it doesn't really make any sense to divide by 1. It's not going to change anything, so my answer is b equals -37. Now my job would be to substitute that -37 back in here, and back in there, and back in there. Make sure that the left-hand side equation equals the right-hand side. Now because we did that together as a group, we're not going to do that step. Okay, so we're not going to do that step because we did it together as a class, but that's what we would want to do in that check step. We're going to skip that because I don't want to make the video too long. But we would want to plug it in all 3 spots and make sure that the left side equals the right side, plugging it in 3 times. All right, last equation here. Whole bunch of stuff going on. We want to kill parentheses. We have some stop, chop, chops. Ick, 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 ick. Combine like terms. On the left-hand side now, my job is to have this weight because remember that 2 plus, that plus sign comes at the end of the order of operations. My first job is PEMDAS, kill the parenthesis first. So I distribute. That's -15 plus, when I distribute here, is +12. The variable is g, so I have -15 plus 12g. And then if I haven't used it, I drag it down. This 2 plus is weighting because addition comes way down here at the end. On the right-hand side, if I haven't used it, I drag it down. All right, so combining any like terms, on the left-hand side, we have some numbers. We have 2 plus -15. When I solve those, 2 plus -15, I get -13. If I haven't used it, I drag it down. On the right-hand side, if I haven't used it, I drag it down. Smallest variable goes. So the smallest variables, so we have 2g and we have 12g. The smallest variable is 2g, so we're going to subtract 2g, copy, paste, because it's the smallest. Working left to right then. If I haven't used it, drag it down. 12g, take away 2g is 10g. And the right-hand side, if I haven't used it, drag it down. All right, so using the hand method then, I'm going to take my hand, cover the variable and anything attached. I'm going to add 13, copy, paste. If I haven't used it, drag it down. I have 10g equals 24. My job is to solve for the variable g. I divide by 10, copy, paste. We get g equals 2.4. Answer should be 2.4. All right, so we would plug that back and check to make sure everything seems good. All right, so we're going to take that g value and plug it back in, make sure everything's good. So we're going to take 2.4, multiply it, plug it back in there. Does it work? Or we should actually be plugging it back into the original equation up here. Is it true that the left side of the equation equals the right side of the equation? When I use my calculator, check it out, make sure everything is good to go on that check step. But because of time and I don't want to make this video super long, we're not going to show that step, but you should be showing it in homework. All right, so a couple things that we talked about. Remember, we add or subtract the smallest variable from both sides. So if you have a variable on both sides, smallest one has got to go. So you have a variable with some other stuff. And don't forget to check. I didn't do a lot of checking in this video because I don't want the video to be super long, so you have time to work in class, you have time to ask questions, and I don't want you to be super bored listening to Ms. Volkman talk all hour. But that is super important, that your job is to make sure that you have a correct answer before you turn your work in. Your homework then for tonight is to finish all of page 17 and then all of the remembering on page 18. In your homework, I expect to see copy, paste, stop, chop, chop, distributed property. I expect that you plugged it back in to check. And then page 18 is just review. Have a fabulous night.